Maniga Boba Baga making a chow Sabi Piotavare. The other part of it, she only Mania Mabiomi were made. Nipan Toya, Lanjonga, Lankia Dua, Mula Lankia Shiva. She very lucky Shiva. Any sight or Ki Sonda, Ki Sona Shiva. Bali Lurote, Mula Mega. Ne Boba Baga Mega. To Ariya Mega Saravali, Tom you quite have Mula Mega Saravara Soda Pua Soda, Koma Konzazi Konzonatan Kasima Kanzaja, Saravali Sojo de Konosita Abumuriha. Soju da Yare Sura Eti Seta Pero Macaune Conosita, a Caune, Tanchene Conosita, Abumuriga, Conju Yada de Sura Eti Seta Ludai Madi, Eti Seta, Te Jiva Ludima Materia. She the lower data sala she have. Kuna Matimia Materia Sad was Sashino Sayadawgyi Pira. There Timate Saw, Chisa Salushi Conjo Yara. Joe drew my new weather. Lude Abumu, Brima Level, Nemu Quever. Matashine, Nipate, Yansaina. Konosita Pumuriga Maconjo Tanchene Yinjere Konosita Pumuria Conjo Yare at the Sita Era Paliludo Kamasakata Samaditi cover Ko Putare Konga Sogani Dale Amui Kayada Vesravale Kovelsa Shida Vesravale at the Sita Yejiva. Every day said on it, 20 the Pupa Vida, Chupu, Taupani, we take to Tamauza, Tamana, Tamaziwa, Tamawema, Tamadri, Tamadamarido, Savalita, Yo. I don't make a look over there. Era chica, she about it. Da she talo she Danaku left you now. Dilla Guna who said you will never attain now. Sit up on your Dima dozen at 7 minutes, the other Atomena. Bonya Soda, she said that she said that Bonya Yozo. Juntaboya, she can see the Eddie Mulameke, she can call Lily. Puba making Gila the Carapola video to get a look shit or a vetama. Ella lady Shinley Piago.
Yesterday, Sayadawgyi spoke about Puba Bhaga Maga, the forerunner path, the path which precedes the noble path. And he forgot to say yesterday something that was very basic, that with regard to the path leading to Nibbana, there is a root path. So there is a junction, and there are 3 kinds of paths that are described in the text: the mula path, and the Puba Bhaga Maga, which is the forerunner path to the noble path. and the Ariya Magga. So Mula Magga means root path. So Mula Magga is the understanding that when we do something bad with a bad intention, it brings bad results. And if we do something good, it brings good results. And the good and bad that we experience in life is created by our own karma, our own actions. So this knowledge that if one does impure, harmful acts, those will bring bad results. On the other hand, if one does clean and wholesome actions, speech, and so on, then this will bring good results. This is very important knowledge to have for everyone. So just as there is both suitable food and unsuitable food, food that is unsuitable for us, that we may be allergic to, if we eat it, then we get into trouble. We experience bad results. On the other hand, if we eat food that is suitable for us in a suitable way, in moderation, then we will get the good results, the benefits from eating that food. So too with actions, there are two kinds. Actions which are impure, bringing bad results, blameworthy, and actions which are clean, wholesome, bringing good results. And to understand like this about the types of actions, these two types, and their results, is called the right view of kamma as our own property, kamma sakata samaditi. We all are inheritors of our actions, good or bad. So this is very important knowledge to have. So there are various factors that combine with the mind. For example, vitakka, aiming, and then right after, there is this basic path that has to be there. And if we have the basic understanding of kamma as our own property, and we put that into action, then we will do dana, we will give things, we will perform acts of generosity, and we will keep sila so that our physical and verbal behavior is clean. And we will also develop knowledge. So this understanding is the basis for doing punya, that is purifying deeds. So from the mula path, this root path, one can do work, various types of work, and Sayadawgyi will explain about this today.
Samadhi mazva minti suravali. That's what it is. Erago chite viro. The bow check chane. Language lamhari will be put so tired, Doromatazia Konga. The Kamasaka Samadhi ha bow check chave a yechizo. Mula a chowny of a day yechi or a duaro. He lay so in Bakom, junction come hole. Junction. A so evil, a so ye. Bo checha, a so evil duaro. The Kamasaka Samadhi got a video. Jana Samadhi language group yellow. Vipassana samadhi, the good Ripta, or na Upadana Lanjango, Lanjango the group. Pero mega samadhi, out the Vipassana samadhi, Ariya mega samadhi. Pala Samadhi, Pisagana Samadhi, so that she was it. There are two pure Mulu. Lantong Weba Kamasaka Samadhi, Mula, Janshi, Vediani, Quedora Kamal Lanjao, Kamal Lanjao Nikuna, Shana Lanjao, Vatana Lanjao Saravani, Lantong Weba. Eddie Tonto, Kamal Lanjao Saraga. Nalonda Congo Nevoli, Colosita, a few lady, Yo Pita. Tanaku lady Tedalo, Tila Lady Saudi, Yo Mitaguna Lily Tower. A chega Lucio Piso Vido, a chega Lulu Sitata, the volleyball Italy Shido. The Abu Muribe Shiranaga Piatone. Shiranaga Piatone, so Kamasaka Samadhi Tide Pado Emula Samadhi can Lanjone Pado, can Lanjone like to a Jew. Tanakuduli, Tilakuduli, Tedalo, Baunakuduli, Dalili, Tedalo, Lutava. Lubo, Nabua, Loto, Yaneva, the Talova, Duaro. Titedo, Mopo, Waunduaro.
In the text, there is samadhi, right view. And based on this, there are paths which branch out. So this junction where paths branch out is Kama Sakata Samadhi, the right view of karma as our property. So it is the most important because it is the root junction. It's the most important junction on the path. It's the central place where other paths meet. So from that junction, this root junction, Kama Sakata Samadhi, the right view of karma, there's the path of jhana samadhi, and then there's the path of vipassana samadhi. That's basically the path of vipassana. And then there's Mega Samadhi, that is the noble path, the Ariya path. And there's also Pala Samadhi, the right view of the fruits of the path. And there's also Pachawakana Samadhi, but for now that is going to be left aside. So there are basically these three types of path on this path related to kama, that branch off from this understanding of kama. And the first is just doing the good deed of dana in an ordinary way, giving things, keeping morality, and developing ordinary metta and karuna, the wish for others' welfare and compassion. And one performs one's basic human responsibilities, and one has basically a good mental attitude. So in this intention, or cetana is the predominant thing, and therefore this right view of kama as one's own property, KSSD, Kama Sakata Samadhi, is included. So this is the path of kama, and it includes dana, generosity to some extent, sila, morality, and bhavana, also to some extent, mental development. And what one gains from this path of kama is birth as a human or as a deva, not more than that.
အဲ့ဒါလို့ကာမစုတ္တသမ္မာဒိဋ္ဌိအခြေတည်ပြီးတော့ဗောလေလူဘဝနောက်ဘဝဖြစ်စေတတ်တဲ့အပြုအမူလေးကုသိုလ်လေးတော့စီဖို့တော့လူဘဝနောက်ဘဝပဲအကျိုးရတာပဲတော့ကမ္မလမ်းကြောင်းလိုက်တော့ကမ္မလမ်းကြောင်းတက်တက်ကတော့လူဘဝနောက်ဘဝပဲလူဘဝနောက်ဘဝကဆင်းရဲတွေများတယ်ဝိရတယ်နာရတယ်သေရတယ်ကျိုးရင်ပူဆိုးရတယ်တန်တန်ကိုကျွေးရတယ်စသည်ပေါ့အမျိုးမျိုးပါပဲဒါတွေကိုမြင်တော့ဘဝကြီးဖြစ်ရခြင်းတူတူတော့အသက်ရှိတဲ့ဘဝဖြစ်ရတာကောင်းတယ်ဆိုတာပေါ့လေဇမောဘဝညောင်ပန်းကြတယ်ဇမောဘဝရောက်ချင်တဲ့ပုဂ္ဂိုလ်တွေကလောကီစံတရားတွေအထုတ်ကြတာဒီစံတရားတွေအထုတ်လို့ရှိရင်တက်တန်းရှိတဲ့ဗြဟ္မဘဝကိုရောက်နိုင်တယ်ဆိုတာပေါ့လေငကိုလည်းဇာဝုနဝရှိတာဇာဝုနဝရှိထားတဲ့အတိုင်းပေါ့လေအဲ့ဒီဘဝရောက်စေနိုင်တဲ့တရားကတော့အခြေခံကိုကြည်သီလတွေပြည့်စုံပြီးတော့ပရိယုဌာဏကိလေသာတွေငြိမ်းအောင်ပေါ့လေဓမ္မရီတရားတွေအထုတ်ကြတာစံတရားတွေပေါ့လူပြည်လောကမှာလည်းအထုတ်တော့သူကဓမ္မရီတွေအားကောင်းလာပြီဆိုလို့ရှိရင်နိဝရဏခေါ်တဲ့ကိလေသာအပူတွေဟာစိတ်အစဉ်မှာမကပ်နိဝရဏတရားတွေကင်းဝတ်စေရင်အပူဓာတ်တွေကင်းနေတယ်ခင်းတယ်အပူဓာတ်တွေကင်းအောင်လုပ်ပေးနေတဲ့စေရနာတွေကလည်းထက်တာနဲ့အဲဒါလိုလောကီဇံတရားတွေရပြီးတော့ကိုယ်လွန်သွားလို့ရှိရင်သူ့ဘုံလိုက်ပေါ့လေဆိုင်ရာဗြဟ္မဘုံဒီမှာဖြစ်ကြရတယ်တက်တန်းရှည်နဲ့ဖြစ်ကြရတယ်တက်တန်းရှည်ရတာကတော့ကောမိမိတို့တဏ္ဍာမှာရှိနေတဲ့ပရိယုဌာဏဂတိတအပူတွေကိုလေသမာဓိတရားနဲ့ဇန်တရားနဲ့ဖယ်ရှားနိုင်လို့ဒါမလို့တက်တန်းရှည်ဖြစ်ရတာပဲတက်တန်းရှည်ရတဲ့အကြောင်းကတော့ဘုန်းကြီးတို့ယောဂုပစ္စည်းများအပြင်မှာထားလို့ရှိရင်တချို့1ရက်ခန္ဓာရှိတယ်2ရက်ခန္ဓာရှိတယ်3-4ရက်ခန္ဓာရှိတယ်အပြင်ကအပွေးတံခံရတော့မြန်မာပစ္စည်းလိုတဲ့ပုတ်လွယ်တယ်ဒါနဲ့ရေခဲတိရတွေထည့်ထားလို့ရှိရင်အဲ့ဒီအေးဓာတ်ကထဲမှာရှိတဲ့အပူဓာတ်တွေတိုက်ထုတ်ကြလို့အေးဓာတ်တွေကခံထားတော့ပုတ်လွယ်ပစ္စည်းလိုတဲ့ဓာတ်တွေလည်းပဲဒီမှာတော်တော်နဲ့ရောက်မလာဘူးငကောရှိတာတွေလည်းပဲအေးနဲ့တိုက်ထုတ်လိုက်တယ်နောက်လည်းမလာရအောင်ကာကွယ်ထားတယ်တာရှိခံတယ်တရက်ခံနေခိနေခံတယ်ရုပ်တစ်ပတ်ကြာတယ်နှစ်ပတ်ကြာတယ်တစ်လားလောက်ထိလည်းခံတာလည်းရှိတာပဲအေးတက်ဝင်သွားလို့ရှိရင်ပစ္စည်းတဲ့သဘောကိုပစ္စည်းချင်းအကြောင်းတွေကိုကာကွယ်ထားတာပဲသူကတော့တာရှိခံတယ်ဓမ္မပြေရောက်စေတဲ့တရားတွေကတော့သူကတော့နိဝရဏခေါ်တဲ့အပူဓာတ်တွေပေါ့လေသူကတော့လျှော့ပေးတဲ့သဘောပဲလျှော့ပြီးတော့အဲ့ဒါတွေကပျော့ရော့ပြီးတော့ကင်းရှင်းသွားတယ်ပေါ့လေအဲ့ဒီစေရနာနဲ့တက်တန်းရှိဟိုမှာနေနေကြတယ်သူတို့အဲ့ဒါကဇာနာသမ္မာဒိဋ္ဌိအကြောင်းပြုပြီးတော့ဖြစ်တာပဲဇာနာသမ္မာဒိဋ္ဌိဇန်တရားတွေအားထုတ်လို့ရှိရင်အသက်ရှည်ဘုံဘဝတွေမှာရောက်တယ်ဆိုတာပေါ့လေဒါနားလည်ထားတယ်အဲ့ဒါအားထုတ်လို့ရှိရင်အဲ့ဒီအကျိုးတွေရတာပဲသူကတော့
Some live like that with the right view of karma as their own property, as the basis for what they do, and therefore they do many good deeds that lead to human and deva rebirth. They develop this type of karma, and therefore they die. When they die, they get that result. They get the result of being born in the human or deva worlds. So This is the path of karma. And in the human world, mostly it's suffering. There's not that very much pleasure, because in life one gets old, one gets sick. At the end there is death. In between there's sorrow, lamentation. People grieve, cry. So because people see that life is so short, we have to suffer like this. So some people think, well, a long life would be better because we don't come so quickly to death. So with that in mind, people develop the worldly absorptions, the jhanas. And with these, because they develop this because they have heard, well, that if one develops the worldly absorptions, the worldly jhanas, then one can be reborn in the Brahma realms. And in the Brahma realms, people live a very, very long time. So, having heard this, keeping basic morality, people develop the worldly jhanas, which suppress the obsessive kilesas, the pariyotana kilesas that arise in the mind. So when samadhi is good, then the nivaranas, the obstacles to concentration, don't stick to the mind. And the heat of the nivaranas is eliminated. And therefore the mind becomes sharp. So when one develops these worldly jhanas and dies, the result is that one goes to one of the Brahma worlds, depending on the jhana that was developed. And in that world, that Brahma realm, one gets a very long lifetime. So the heat of the kilesas is suppressed. It's removed by samadhi and jhana. And therefore the beings in the Brahma worlds have a very long life. The effect of removing heat, the effect of heat can be seen in what happens when we keep things outside of the refrigerator. Some foods, that when we keep them outside of the refrigerator, then they last a day, or maybe 2 days, or 3 days. And in a short time, they rot. But if you put these foods in the refrigerator, then the refrigerator contains a cooling element, and this cooling element keeps the food from rotting. So instead of just lasting a day or 2 days, things can last a week or 2 weeks or more. So because the cold enters into the food, the quality of the cold can keep the qualities that would rot from becoming rotten. So in the Brahma worlds, the heat of the nivaranas is removed, and with that chaitana that one gets from developing the worldly jhanas, one is born in that world. So this is the result of having right view about the jhanas, the absorption, jhana samaditi. And that is, if one develops the jhanas and then goes, based on that chaitana, one goes to the Brahma world, is reborn there, and that is the result that one gets from performing the worldly absorptions.
Kamasakara samadhi khore mula lansong changchiya ne biro kudu kani pyure khawali dana kudu tila kudu re dimi acha kudu re pyure ka sirna aya lubwa nabwa ma acho pe Diyama to say Seviro Sanatama Didi Valley Sini Sitari Tanshiolo, Dogi Sani Puareka Sandiari Yalushi, Sayambu Buama Pima and Enaboli, the Tanshi near Daleva Puari Penny there. Sanshay Kuna Kamale, Utanza Puari, Piayo Nedira. They outanja boys who left Yamito Yok Nedira. Matija Kiro Powapia Lanjo. The gate Chanda said Lanjo Shara. A Shadeka Ubatana Samaditi Jose Yona Diare. I'm yet seeing the war since Ubatana Yani Pitora. The Ubatana Yania, Manganzwa Tide, and Yamea. Ubatana Samaditi Pono, Ubatana Samaditi Pietao. Gabruma Maunu Jojo did Yabi, Yellow Meow. Jojo the Yona Diari Huma. Shuzia Ayoma, Joe Shuda, Judia, Jojo Diari Volema, that is Senida. Messine, Mizashilu, Miena, Nane, Dashilu, Jara, Nakone, Anashilu, Nayara, Shane, Yada Shilu, Volema, Yada de Tira, Kone, Titu de Shilu, Puma Ema, Tomatema, Lumadida. Senalo Gita de Shilo, Seno Gita Mas, Seguya, Aunila Capi Solice. Segusa Jam, Amuno Pierre, Jaune to Sesa Villa Pianita. You Jonjo, Najo, you Jonjo, you Joe, Nanjonjo, Nanjo, Nanjonjo, you Joe, that is Sesa Villa Pianita. Jaume Pita, you Jone Pita. The Johnny Peter Diari Popo Video Pio Gabo Molly. Timian out Ubatana Yankorave. Gure Ado to Gurentida Pieto, Damaganga. Timian at the water of Samaditi Lekora, Ubasana Samaditi. That is Lanjong layer, a good Tribita Bona, dear Atu de Pugoria, Eddie Lanjong. Lanjong Yonida. Eddie Lanjonga Anudia Kilitari, but Piatore, Mugilita, but Pianina Kaita Mugilitari, Piatonina Mugilitari, Pialo, Doroli, Chicha, Piazongavi, Soloche, Ariya met Pola Vidovoli. Pianlamsi, Mupjaka, Shinina. Ariya Mepsiluchi, Poor Lepidora, Eddie Mepun and neighbor Memo Pugi Dora. Eddie Chili say, oh, Ubasana Samaditi, Kore, Lanjong Layara. I go Yogi ha, Tribuna Bona, Tiato, Ubatana Lanjong Yibo. Pyongyang Light Nijarababe.
With the right view of karma as our own property, this is like the big junction, the main junction. And from there, one does various types of good deeds, like generosity, dana, sila, morality, and others. And due to the intention, the cetana, of our actions, we get a human and a deva birth. So from here, one develops the jhanas, and then one goes to the Brahma worlds and gains a long life there. So this too, life in the Brahma worlds, involves having a life. And after life, one can die, one dies, and on dying, one can go down, fall out of the Brahma worlds, and one can even fall down quite far after that. So one has to search for a path which brings happiness in this life. And that is the path of vipassana, to observe mind and body as they arise, related to cause and effect. So as we do this, the right view of vipassana samadhi, arises. No one can deny that these are cause and effect happening. Both the observation and the object itself are results. And so both of these, the object observed and the observation, are related as cause and effect. We have an eye, and therefore seeing can happen when the object strikes it. We have an ear, because of the ear, hearing can arise. Because of having a nose, smelling can arise. Because of having a mouth, having a tongue, then tasting can arise. Because of the body, 2, when tangible objects strike it, we can experience them, we know the touch. And also, when mental objects strike the mind base, then one knows these. So various types of consciousness arise when the object strikes the sense base. So this is how the physical is the cause for mentality knowing to arise. And there's also knowing, and the mentality can be the cause for physicality to arise. Matter can be the cause for matter to rise. Mind can be the cause for mind to arise. There's nothing that happens without a cause. And seeing how this mind and matter that is related as cause and effect arise and then pass away is vipassana knowledge. Because one practices, one sees this for oneself and gains the right view of vipassana samadhi. And the yogis who are practicing now, they're on this path of vipassana. So this path cuts off the very roots of the kilesas in every moment of observation. And when the factors are all complete, then the path knowledge arises, and this cuts off the kilesas, roots and all. And then there is fruition knowledge. And both path knowledge and fruition knowledge, these both see nibbana. To reach this, one has to follow the path of vipassana. And yogis are now following straight along this path.
Jane mega samadhi, plus samadhi, go matruja pitore hago, sinjene bisogana samadhi, eri samadhi tomyu garo, deme poya mahobagu. Vipassana samadhi piezong dalo shi a jo and a lulu portrait a pea de cuba. Vipassana yinche sona neve. Bota kore yona pissing ya nevido, abota kore yona pissing yet or a body. And yet what how I do it. Make samadhi, make a samadhi, plus samadhi, pit or above. And the aputa, I will give it a pit. The pit taken a gem of a coma to Jari Hare, Piavido, Saint Janet Pesogana samadhi to the pit. Eraria rotame, po on lopo malo. Kamasaka samadhi, chete video. Công lập gì công chúa ra để số ra biển số việt ra để số để tí xây đập a tinya ship of all. I go look at him as you review some Saint Other time. Korea, Podmia, only two Polubo, Zelima. Pompe, a savoli, who will drip sign in a human. We were the Nanyani Pillar. We were the Nanyani, sense it. Two waller, Yijel, Roda. And I replace on the Janto Magara, two other Lulu Pillar. Had a Lulu Fugaro, who wasn't a Samadhi, who yogi, and he wasn't a Samadhi, Pio, Josania. A Josare Kama, Uriya, don't see a day, Yichiva. A SADHU Juba Atomu. The Saint Doy, a Pima Lumia Juba Atomu. A Saint Doy, Panda Yoti Juba Atomu. Eddie Uriya, don't see kiss on Dalushe. Con over the Nanyani piece on Laila, whether Nanya piece on Luce. Janet, Tamatiti, Namu Leve, a Lulu to the Bola.
The remaining three types of right view, Mega Samaditi, Pala Samaditi, and Pachawakana Samaditi, which reflects on the special things that have arisen in one. There is no need to develop these three types of right view deliberately. If the right view of vipassana samadhiti, is complete, then these will automatically arise as the result. When vipassana knowledge is complete, then one goes from observing pavata, the endless stream of mental and physical phenomena, to apavata, that which does not arise and pass away. Path knowledge and fruition knowledge both observe this apavata, that which does not arise and pass away. They take it as their object. And following path and fruition, then reflective knowledge, Pachavakana Samadhiti, reflects on what has just happened. So, based on the understanding of Kama as our own property, Kama Sakata Samadhiti, one knows that this is the knowledge that bad deeds bring bad results and good deeds bring good results. And with this knowledge, doing as now, to observe at every arising, always guard the mind with vigilant mindfulness. Starting with the rising and the falling of the abdomen, one observes every arising object with ardent effort and aiming. Vipassana knowledge is sure to arise, and once it has arisen, it is sure to develop stage by stage. When complete, when the vipassana knowledge is complete, the remaining types of right view, samadhiti, will automatically arise. The work to be done is to develop vipassana samadhiti, the right view of vipassana. Yogis have to try to develop this. And in doing this, the three types of virya are very important. Three types of effort. The initial effort to start the practice, and then the boosted up effort that is needed to overcome laziness, and third, the increasing effort that increases stage by stage until one reaches the goal. If these three types of effort are complete, then vipassana knowledge will become complete. And if vipassana knowledge is complete, then the remaining three types of right view will automatically result.
Vipassana samadhiti lo Gongta Piabimelo, Mangaro, Pubabaga, Mega, so the Timoli, Ariya may sheep ye, Lanjong Chongcho said, Yuna the other people, Molly, Timmy, Ubatana, Yanni, Mobabu, Ubatana, somebody did him, Mobabu, Mania Quepia, the Timoli. तुम्हारी मैं किन्हीं ले पानी वाला हमने मसीने टेबी तो माले रियो ती तुम्हारे पिन्या मैं किन्हीं पानी वाला सिरना तीलारे बोले तनिए इंडिया तुम्हारा तीलारे तारी पानी वाला तीला में क्यों तुम्हारी में को पिन्या में क्यों Making Tomalon Sony by the Tuara. And Ariya may shape ye making quite it. Pubabaga making look over it. A Pubabaga meti Puani the water. Mula Pupa Ariya Toma making Yasna. A Puba making. Pualu to Ayala de Kamania Yoga the Lu. He thanked any bakery, Sadhana Dipatana Arata. Kawad Sita Tamakore Shukwichi Ayuyama, I did there for it. Shukwe Ayulady, Porebo and Shulu. Uriya don't say piece on me, solution. The Mawatan and Yania Lepsilla Dora, the Atu de Pogoma. Aratasra, Pripona Lupundavare. Atu Piezona. Sapalu Piezona, Tuilu Piezona Movu. Jana Yone Piezona Movu. Sune Yone Piezona Movu, Atuta. Atu Piezona. Aradote San Ariya Atingomego. Ridriptandia Leva Pualo to lay Piezona Boko Mari. Kona Lanyawi Puendori Lanyawi Inga Shipane Pizone Lanyawi Tomo Lanyawi Boli Pedra Lanyawi Puendra Edima Pare Tilamaka the Marimaki Pina Makeniga to let us what the Shida Tilamakinga Kuno Pikin Tashion to a Pilupi. Ariya be Kuno Tashendora, Ariya Soda Kune no Sentam Yentella Autumn Jow. We the Rit Marico Makaliri Koloshi, Brute and Agilita, and Yeti Kenida Tashenida Tashina Soda, Senesita, Tashina Soye, Sentam Yenida, Ariya. Kaita Ariya Pena. No, Dinali Pietoreka, Yuna Pencha Dimuga Savoni. Anutia Gilitari, a sub pieta. Gilita and waited on Shido. A chala anu Julum Gilita, Sidama Pita Gilita, Yugilitari Banchiro. Edidama Pare. Pubabaga met Tombaga or Osumaga, the near Tilatamari Pinaga, Shimbalita Valley, Ariya, Pritota, Pusine, Resolution, Otama Mimiate, Edico Iriala, Belocone Covile. Second, Macready Piniloshe. Dico Iriani Rave, and a corner where nobody look at. The gay you didn't say as a Atuta Pocore. Poi Pioniaga never did a true Pitaria Miajive. Yogila Rave. Eddie Kama Samatuka Kami, Eddie Covile, Piece on Rave. Nilanja. Would say at Tomba or Tomio သုံးမျိုးကကုန်ခန်းတဲ့စီရောက်နေတာပဲတဲ့သမ္မာဒုက္ခခယကာမိဆိုတာနိလန်းကြဆင်းရဲကုန်ရာသို့ရောက်နေတယ်တဲ့ခိုက်တော့အဲ့ဒီဘုဘဘကမဲ့မှာအဲ့ဒီအည်သွေးတွေပြည့်စုံလာတာ
So although we call it vipassana samadhi, in fact it is the forerunner path, Puba Bhaga Magga, that is to, in this observation of mind and matter, which are related as cause and effect, seeing how they arise and pass away. It is not just vipassana knowledge. As Sayadawgyi said, the path factors of samadhi are also present. Samadhi meganga. And also the path factors of the wisdom portion of the path are also present. And there is sila as intention, cetana sila, and also as restraint of the sense faculties, indriya samvara sila. So the three groups of the path, sila, samadhi, and panya, are all complete. One is developing this forerunner path, the Puba Bhaga Magga. And Sayadawgyi said these are the three types of the path. The mula path, the Puba Bhaga Magga path, and the noble path. And when one practices to a satisfactory level, as Sayadawgyi said yesterday, Yesang Tesang Hi Bhikkhave Sataro Satipatthana Arada. When one observes every arising object, and in doing so develops the three kinds of effort. When these three kinds of effort become complete, then vipassana knowledge also becomes complete. And this is what is meant by the word arada, when the four types of satipatthana are completely developed. This is development not due to reading, discussing, asking questions, and so on. It is due to practice. It's due to effort. And because of this, it is said, arado tesang aryo atangiko mago samadukakiyagami. Because of developing the four kinds of satipatthana to completion, the great path with 8 parts, the great path of vipassana, is opened. So the sila, samadhi, and panya, all these parts of the path have their own capabilities, their own powers. Sila, morality, is what keeps our physical and verbal behavior clean and pure. This is Ariya. Our behavior becomes elevated by sila. When virya, sati, and samadhi are good, then the mind becomes clean. And this too is Ariya. The obsessive kilesas are suppressed at this moment. And when panya arises, then the latent kilesas are uprooted in a momentary way. So the gross, medium, and refined mental defilements are all being eliminated by this forerunner path, or the trainings of sila, samadhi, and panya. So the mind becomes clean through these three trainings, and therefore it is also called uttama, excellent, unsurpassed. This is a quality that one gains every second of the time when one observes and develops knowledge. So those who are really practicing, I'm not sure what Sayadawgyi said, those who are really practicing, understanding this, they understand that they are just very few among many with this type of realization. So one is systematically practicing, and with this systematic practice, one reaches the end of the cycles of suffering. The forerunner path, Pubba Bhaga Magga, becomes complete.
No muyayo, say ne say tayo, adinyayo, Bama Mapipu. Targa Julun Sogamuri, Targa Setema, Miram Chenida. Mukili Dhamma Nebusu, Sete Pila, Sitia Nevida Matena, Julun Sogare, Panti Yoda. Nejibo Nejigo Tila, however. Uriya Tonzene Atodo, the Riptanade, the Role Piezon Lare, Mati Sailor. Mati Sailor Kajaro, Erikaita Masoye, Julon Sogare, take a Margarita, Lena, Tilari Piezonira. Uriya the Tith Maridi Barniro, the Maridi Le Conida. I will never see a David of the woman and let Tinida. Mashumalogy era Bama people solution. Choosing Bamala, Kuyono Sini Sitayo. I'm choosing Nipalushi, Tetanja Bamala, Utanja Pitabe. There are the Ribitantea, Mapuara Pogoria, Poema Madira Pogoria. Tana Wandashi, Hame Pipsi. Pepogo was over the heat of where ships, the time shit out, Matashem. Matashem, Odanjara, Lucidu Gomopi, whatever. A Poimia Leluci, Pepogo was over. Pepada women so volley. Poimia DJ Yogi Soluci. To Senta Shell, Senta Name, it is a Taquagila Lucia. Pagilita Mamshifu, Madai Diva Solution. Matimu Wesa, Timamu Wesa, Hera Lemsido, Amadinido, Madida Lemsido, only Timara Lemsido. I am going to tell that Tanada Lemsido. Mati into a tea piece or a tea in a piece or Lujimudi, Akombi, Yama, China name, Sure, Akone, Lova, Pomla, Uda. The Goga Atas way, Atas way, Msido, Madeti Mago, who is at an Ubana called a Kilita. Here are Sierra, Sierra, Johnny Lepita. Here are the Pikumia when a Kayas or a Goni double. Duka Kayas or a Dabura Bay, Duka. Here are the Manushi, Lame, go beauty, no beauty, what is in the Sitare. Tajineco, Sini Sitale, the Karaga Pilla, but Tajina Sini Sitari Yama. Here I beauty Pilla. Here I live up Jenny. Here I come up. The look see a quarter. Sajobjolochi, Kama water see a body. Kama water see, Kuna Grita water see. Oh, human leader. Power Jobede, you could lemon people. I would those who are way over. Tanshin. Kilita, Kielu Shea, Kamao level Picumia. Kama Shiva Ma Upaka Usra Lara, Chupia, Bredriga Savido, Joy Joseph Porao, or Joy Joseph Picumia Urma, Uga, what I would say, Eddie would say to you, Kung Torres, Yoyo Nida, Akaita, Era would do Kakia Kami Kore, Edu Kumi, peace on it. Lanjao, Lanjao Mamu, that Samaduka my Kamida Mankane, Nine Valley, Eddie Kirita, Kamaubaga, correct, would see a tomio. Kumkanes, Yonida, the Akaita, Pelacon, Elukum, a piece of Nava. You did the other de Bokuriha. Samaduka Kami Suraboli Popabaga Maya Kumili Dila, so take Chinata.
If one doesn't know about the practice of Satipatthana Bhavana, as the yogis do now, if one doesn't know the method, if one knows about it, but one doesn't observe developing the three kinds of virya, for such a person, their physical and verbal behavior, their mental behavior, and their knowledge won't develop. Nothing will happen. And because of no development of physical and verbal behavior, sometimes one will transgress. Sometimes the desire to transgress will arise in the mind, and if that becomes extreme, then one can commit transgressions. But when one practices and develops the three kinds of effort, then vipassana knowledge becomes complete. And as one observes, then the kilesas die down. Each time one observes, they're dying down. There's virya, sati, and samadhi, the factors of the concentration part of the path, and there's knowledge, the factors of the path, the wisdom part of the path. So, if one doesn't observe, with the practice of satipatthana, will one's physical, verbal, and mental behavior become clean? And if they don't, if our behavior is not clean, will it be uplifted? So now, those who practice and develop the four, for those who do not practice, develop the four foundations of mindfulness, whether they are monks or lay people, whether they are young or old, no matter who it is, if these four, if the practice of satipatthana is not developed, then one won't become clean, one won't develop this purity. But on the other hand, if the practice of satipatthana is developed, whoever develops it to completion, no matter what their views are, no matter what their religion is, such a person will become pure and clean. So at this time of the practice, both the quality of ignorance is being removed, both not knowing and knowing in the wrong way. Ignorance is not there, and therefore there's no craving for good objects. There's no craving of tanha. This is also eliminated. Without any craving, there will be no clinging, this demanding for an object that one feels one must have, upadana. And there will be no wrong view of self during the practice. So the kilesas are eliminated in the moment of observation, and these are the cause for suffering. So, as they have no chance to arise, the kilesas, and therefore they are being eliminated, kaya. So the kilesas which cause suffering are eliminated, and that is what this word kaya means in Pali. The physical, verbal, and mental behavior is clean. So when we committing actions without practice, one commits both clean and unclean actions. For the most part, unclean. And this is called the suffering of the cycle of karma, or the cycle of actions. Because of the actions, also there will be results. So, but because one is observing the object, there is knowledge arising, and so there is no ignorance, and the mind is clean. So because of observing the object, one is not committing any type of deed that will create a future life. The karma that creates results creates the results in new lifetimes is not being committed. There's no wholesome action that is committed that will result in life. And there's no unwholesomeness because there's no kilesas as one observes the object. So because there are no kilesas, there are no karma, there's no karma that results from the kilesas, and there are no results due to the karma. All these three are coming to an end. There's no primary results nor no secondary results. So therefore, there is no suffering of results arising. So all these three cycles, the cycle of kilesas, the cycle of karma, and the cycle of results, there is no, these cycles are cut off and there is no suffering of these cycles. So this is why the path is called Samadukhakyagami. This phrase shows the quality of the path. It is not wrong, it is correct, sama. One reaches the end of the kilesas, dukkakya, moment by moment, every time one observes. So when one knows the virtues of the forerunner path, the Pubbabhaga Mega, one will be very satisfied.
ဒီတော့တကယ်ချမ်းသာရလို့အခုလိုသတိပဋ္ဌာန်လမ်းကြောင်းတနည်းအားဖြင့်မဲ့ခင်လမ်းကြောင်းရှောက်နေတဲ့ပုဂ္ဂိုလ်တွေဟာအဲ့ဒီမှာပါတဲ့အင်္ဂါတွေပေါ့လေဒါတွေပြည့်စုံကြိုးစားရပါတယ်သီလဆိုင်ရာအင်္ဂါသမာဓိဆိုင်ရာအင်္ဂါပညာဆိုင်ရာအင်္ဂါပေါ့လေရှင်းပြောလို့ပြည့်စုံလို့ရပါတယ်ပြည့်စုံလို့ဒါတွေဒီလမ်းဖြောက်နေပြီဆိုလို့ရှိရင်ခုနအရိယဆိုတာစင်ကြဲလာတာပဲစင်ကြဲတယ်ဆိုရင်စင်တတ်မြင့်တယ်လာတာပဲစင်တတ်မြင့်တယ်ဆိုတာခုနအညာစားတွေကိုဖယ်ရှားပြစ်နိုင်တဲ့စွန့်ရည်တတိတွေကောင်းလာလို့ပြောတော့အကျဉ်းအလားအနုကိလေသာတွေဆင်းရဲတွေပေါ့မြဲပြတ်လဲပတ်ပြီးတော့ဖြစ်နေတဲ့ဆင်းရဲတွေအလေရအောင်စိတ်ကနေအလေရအောင်လုပ်ရတာပဲအဲ့ဒီဟိုဆင်းရဲတွေအလေရအောင်ပုဗ္ဗဘကမဲ့နဲ့အစားထိုးနိုင်လို့ရှိရင်ဒါတွေသူတို့ရက်သွားတာပဲအဲ့ဒါတွေ ကုန်ခန်းတဲ့စီရောက်နေတာပဲအဲ့ဒီအည်သွေးလေးတွေရတာပဲဓမ္မတကယ်ရိုသေတဲ့အထုတဲ့ယောဂီပုဂ္ဂိုလ်တွေဟာသမဒုက္ခခိယခာမီဆိုတာပေါ့လေကောင်းသဘောပေါက်လာတယ်ကိလေသာဝလဲမလဲတာမရှိဘူးသူ့အကြောင်းပြုပြီးတော့အကျိုးပြုနိုင်တဲ့ကာမကောင်းကံဆိုးကံတွေလည်းမပေါ်ဘူးဓမ္မကောင်းကံဆိုးကံမပေါ်တော့ကောင်းကျိုးဆိုးကျိုးအကျိုးတွေလည်းပဲမထင်ရှားတော့ဂျုံပြီးတော့ကိလေသာဝတ္တကာမဝတ္တဥပကဝတ္တဆိုတာဟိုသုံးပါးကုန်တဲ့စီတဲ့ရောက်နေတာအဲ့ဒါနှစ်ဘက်ကကြာမှဝိသတ်ဖို့ဝပြတ်ဖို့နေဖို့လေအဲ့ဒါတွေဆက်လက်ပြီးတော့ပြောပါဦးမယ်ဒီနေ့ကတော့သမဒုက္ခကိယဂာမိဆိုတဲ့ပုရဲ့အနေကလေးပေါ်ထားလိုက်ပေါ်ပြောလိုက်တာပါပဲကွာခုနမက်ကဆိုရဲဟာလမ်းကြောင်းမှာသူ့ရဲ့ခုံကြီးလေးတွေအရိယဖြူစင်မြတ်တဲ့ခုံကြီးသူ့မှာဆင်းရဲဒုက္ခတွေကုန်တဲ့စီရောက်နေတဲ့ခုံကြီးဆိုတာပေါ့လေဒီခုံကြီးလေးတွေပေါ်ပြောတာပါဒီဘက်ကကျွန်မဆက်ပြောပါဦးမဒီနေ့တော့ဒါပဲပြောကြအောင်ဆို
If one really wants to get happiness, those who follow the path of satipatthana or the path of vipassana have to try to fulfill the parts of the path. The sila portion of the path, the samadhi, concentration portion of the path, and the panya, wisdom portion of the path. There are 8 parts, and one should try to fulfill these. If they are fulfilled and one walks straight along the path, then it becomes Ariya, it is noble and pure. It is high level, excellent, and that means that it dispels what is base and low. It dispels the suffering of all kinds, gross, medium, and refined. The 3 cycles of kilesas, kama, and results revolve every second of the time. But because one practices and develops the forerunner path, one replaces the revolving of these 3 cycles with the forerunner path, Puba Bhaga Magga. The yogis who are practicing respectfully understand quite well about this. They understand that the cycle of kilesas does not revolve during the practice. And the cycle of kama also, because there are no kilesas, there is no kama. This cycle does not revolve. And there are no results coming because the cycle of kama has stopped. So these 3 cycles have come to an end. Sayadawgyi tomorrow will talk about how the cycles revolve and how they are cut off. Today, what he has explained is the qualities of the path, sama dukkha gami, and also Ariya. The path is pure, Ariya, and it leads correctly to the end of suffering, sama dukkha gami. So tomorrow he will talk about the cycles. That's all for today. So.